You've been taught to think of your knee in parts: cartilage on top, bone underneath. Two separate things with a clean line between them.
This animation shows the knee joint. It splits to reveal the cartilage and the dense bone structure underneath.
That line does not really exist the way you think it does. The cartilage and the bone beneath it are not two tissues sitting next to each other. They are one working unit. Connected, talking to each other constantly, each one shaping what happens to the other. And once you understand that, a great deal about why knees fail and why treatments miss suddenly makes sense. Between the cartilage and the bone, there is a boundary. Doctors call it the Tidemark, a thin line where the soft cartilage meets the hard bone underneath. In a healthy knee, this border behaves like a well controlled checkpoint. It lets the right small things pass, nourishment, signals, and holds the line otherwise. The two sides stay in their proper relationship. But in an arthritic knee, that border breaks down. Tiny channels open across it. The checkpoint becomes a series of holes, and through those holes, the two sides begin to flood each other with signals they were never meant to exchange so freely. In a healthy knee, the border between cartilage and bone is a checkpoint. In arthritis, it becomes a set of open doors. Here is the part that matters most and the part almost no one explains. The signals cross in both directions. From the bone upward, when the bone underneath is inflamed and under pressure, those bone marrow lesions we have talked about, it sends inflammatory signals up through the open border into the deep layers of the cartilage. The trouble in the foundation reaches up and harms the surface. And from the cartilage downward, when the cartilage above is breaking down, it sends its own signals down into the bone. Driving the bone to remodel badly, feeding the very lesions that then signal back upward. Do you see what that means? It is a loop. The bone harms the cartilage, the damaged cartilage harms the bone. Each one worsens the other, around and around. That is why the disease, once it starts, tends to drive itself forward. The bone wounds the cartilage, the wounded cartilage wounds the bone. A vicious circle running across a border that has stopped holding the line. Now, I want to connect this to something I showed you back in February. In that video, I told you the knee is a sensory organ, that pain comes from nerves, and that in arthritis, nerves grow into places they do not normally belong. Some of you wrote to me puzzled because in another video I had said cartilage has no nerves. Both are true. Let me show you how they fit together. Because the answer is right here at this border. Healthy cartilage has no nerves and no blood vessels. None. That is simply a fact about a healthy joint. But when those doors open across the border in arthritis, it is not only chemical signals that come through, blood vessels grow up through the channels and nerves grow up alongside them into cartilage that in health never had a single nerve. So both videos were right. In a healthy knee, the cartilage cannot hurt. It has no nerves. In an arthritic knee, nerves have grown into it through this open border. The tissue that could not feel pain has a disease been wired for it. Healthy cartilage has no nerves. Arthritic cartilage grows them up through the same broken border that carries everything else. That is how a tissue that cannot hurt learns to. Once you see the knee as one connected unit with a two-way conversation running through it, the standard treatments start to look incomplete in an obvious way. Treat only the cartilage on the surface, smooth it, inject the joint space, and you've done nothing about the bone underneath that keeps signaling up into it. The foundation keeps driving the damage. Treat only the bone and ignore the inflamed joint above, and the surface keeps signaling down. Either way, you have addressed one half of a conversation and left the other half talking. This is the reasoning behind treating the joint as a whole, reading the environment, addressing the bone underneath, where so much is driven from, and calming the joint above at the same time, not one half, the unit. The full protocol and how we approach the whole unit rather than one surface is in our 12th April video linked below. So I want to leave you with one change in how you picture your own knee. Not cartilage on top and bone underneath, two separate things, two separate problems, one unit, one organ. A surface and a foundation in constant conversation. And in arthritis, that conversation turns into a circle of harm running across a border that has stopped protecting either side. Stop thinking of your knee as parts. It is one organ. And it must be treated as one.